Are we live? Oh.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, your home for comic books, movies, TV shows, and you know it, we got it. Beer of the week. I'm not seeing us on Facebook right at this moment, but hey, you know what? Thanks for hanging out with us today as we are going to be talking about the Acolyte and the boys. Some things have happened, some not so good things, some pretty exciting things. It's just depends how you look at it, right? The Acolyte had an absolutely crazy episode. The boys, not so crazy. However, we'll
What?
talk
The
about
boys
it.
was not so crazy?
We'll get to it. So
Are you
first,
out of your
Lauren.
mind?
All right. Well, here, Lauren, why don't you go ahead and talk about your beer and talk real quick while I figure out what's happening with our Facebook.
So my beer is very in theme for the boys, not so much Star Wars. And shout out to my cousin Tabby, who gave me one of her soup juices because I drink all mine. And as far as I know, there is no more that you can get. This is from Tavor, and it is also from Family Business Beer Company. If you're not familiar with that, which I feel like if you've been listening to us for a while, you probably are, it is Jensen Ackles Brewery, Family Business Beer Company. And of course, he did the soup juice to honor the boys. And I have it in my Free the Whales glass, which is usually reserved for hard to get beers, which this is a hard to get beer if you're not in Austin. But also, it's mainly for Fudgy the Whale, because as Carvel retweeted the boys' tweet, they said that it is every occasion is great for a Fudgy the Whale cake. And yeah, I thought that was hilarious. I love the boys so much. And I'm very excited to talk about this. And so much more happened in the boys than happened in the Acolyte.
That's true. That's wait, whoa. So much more happened on the boys than it did the Acolyte? Are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yeah.
I respectfully disagree. Respectfully, but give me a second. Why don't you tell people what they can do, where they can find us, and everything like that?
So everybody can find us everywhere on the TikTok, the Twitter, the Instagram, the YouTube at Hops Geek News. And you can find us on Facebook at Hops Geek News. And if you want some comic book reviews or other type of articles, you can also find us on nerdinitiative.com. And Matt often goes live with Nerd Initiative on Tuesdays. And sometimes we go live other random times. Like
We
last
just
Monday, I
do
went
random
live with Tom
stuff.
to talk Doctor Who. Yeah, we do a lot
We
of
do.
random stuff.
We do just be doing random stuff sometimes. And hey, look that we're live. I fixed things. We're
Woohoo!
moving. We're cooking with oil out there. So join us, subscribe, like, share, all of that good stuff. If you're out there, please help the podcast grow as we are talking the Cantina Hour tonight. We are talking the boys, like we've talked about. We are going to be talking about Acolytes. So my beer, though, I had to get it because something very terrible happened this week in the Acolyte. We lost a very beloved character.
So there will be spoilers for the Acolyte
There
from
will
here.
be spoilers. Okay, yes.
We'll give you a heads up before we spoil the boys.
We're giving you in spoilers before. Just spoilers. Just assume we're spoiling everything as I update a couple things. But I'm drinking Women's Day. It's called Women's Day. It's an IPA. It is from Ballad Brewing out of Virginia. It is a 5.7% ABV. This is what the can looks like. Like I said, I'm drinking it because we lost our dear beloved Jackie this week. Pour one out for Jackie because I am not okay with this. But we'll talk about that, man. So which one do you want to talk about first, Lauren? You want to go into the boys? You want to go to Cantina Hour? Like,
I
which one are you
say
feeling?
let's do the Acolyte first because that's been out for a few days, whereas the boys episode 5 dropped this morning. So let's do the Acolyte, and we
That's
will give
fair.
spoilers before we
Okay.
start spoiling the boys. And if you are not caught up, you will be able to catch this later once you are caught up.
You will, you
So
will. So yeah, we'll talk about the Acolyte. All right, talk about the Acolyte then. Well, episode 5, everybody was up in arms, panicking after episode 4, where they're like, nothing happened. This didn't. First of all, I wish I could put this on our screen because for some reason the comments aren't totally working. But Jose Lozano, my boy out there, said that I'm the best softball player. Yes, actually, that is factual. At first, I was sucking yesterday, but I just lured the other team into a false sense of security, kind of like Quimir did this week on the Acolyte. And I hit a home, or not a home run. I hit a double to kind of end the game, and we won. So no big deal. Shout out to my boy Jose out there. big ups to him. If you're out there, comment. For some reason, the Facebook comments aren't showing up on our little thing here. Things a little screwy. I tried to do some things, but no big deal. Yes, the Acolyte, episode 4, we left off where they were in the woods. Kalneka was dead. May was hiding in, looking to see what was going on. And from that point, the Jedi, the lightsabers, this mysterious Sith, they call him the Stranger. He appeared, and shit was about to get crazy. And crazy it did. I mean, look at this
Oh,
man. This
down.
man, he throws
That's
OSHA
a
to the
creepy
side.
ass man.
I love, so they call him Darth Teeth, which is one of the things I've seen going around, which is kind of funny to me. But I mean, he's kind of a badass looking character. Like he's got this whole fit. He's got his poncho going. He's got the helmet. He's pretty menacing. He's got the voiceover modulator, which
See out of
people
that.
do. That's what my thing was. Is like, how does he see out of this? I'm very confused. I'm
I
not
mean, with
sure
all
how.
of them, even Mando and everything, it's like, well, okay, even when girls have their hair down, like I've been rewatching the X-Men movies and seeing Psylocke
Yeah,
when she drops down in Apocalypse and her hair is like, no, you guys need to be able to see when you're fighting for your life.
yeah. I don't really understand how they're able to do that, which is kind of funny.
I can't do
But you know
dishes with
what?
my hair down.
Well, like you're whipping your hair around, so wouldn't you poke yourself in the eye? Have you ever poked yourself in the eye? Might you poke me in the eye? Has that ever happened to you
I
while like
I've
going crazy with your hair down? Like,
Yeah, I've definitely had my hair get in my eyeball. And when you to go, like, let's say Josh opens the windows for 2 seconds, then I have a huge freaking rat's nest in my
well,
hair.
I hate when like
So
my hair's flying around anyway. Not like I have a lot of hair, but still, like,
was the best part of the movie Birds of Prey when the one girl like can't she's like, "Oh, do you need a hair tie?" And she's like, "Yes, thank you." And she puts her hair up to finish fighting.
yeah,
Well, thank
yeah.
you. It's the most
I
realistic thing that has ever happened in any superhero movie ever.
but you're right though. Like their hair's all down. But anyways, we kick off with some epic lightsaber battling.
The
Soul is
lightsabers
standing on business. So what
were
do you
the
think about the
best part of
lightsaber
this
battle?
episode. That was the best part of the episode. I did not love it nearly as much as you. I have more complaints
Like,
probably than I do compliments, but the lightsaber fights were
whoa.
fantastic.
First of all, my mom said, shout out to my mom out there too. She said she thought it resembled the Mandalorian. And yeah, no, the helmet definitely did. I agree with that. Like that's a big thing. Like because back in the old days, the Sith and the Mandalorian actually fought together against the Jedi, believe it or not. And then the Jedi actually kind of wiped out the Mandalorian at a point. And so
And,
that's probably why a lot of it.
and didn't he have what did he have that was like repelling the lightsabers? Was it Beskar steel? Because that was the other thing.
No. Okay, so I'm gonna get to that. It's not Beskar. I will get to
Okay.
that. Yeah, Lozano said the Acolyte is splitting audiences and critics. It's about to split this podcast. Lauren, I want to hear what your critique. Like, I'm gonna say it wasn't a flawless episode, but by all means, please, what were your takes? Give us your thoughts.
So I like that Duval was the guy in the mask. I actually did like that. I thought the fight scenes were absolutely fantastic. But outside of that, it was like, was every person in this show other than Saul and the twins like cannon fodder? Like we're just straight up just murdering everybody. I mean, I get that like they don't exist in the what we're accustomed to and that they're all dead now no matter what, with the Skywalker saga. Well, obviously, except for a few people that live for hundreds and hundreds of years. But it's just did somebody just say go Bengals?
They
Oh.
did. Jordan, you knucklehead.
Okay, I was confused for a second because
It's
that
because
was the
I
mascot of
look like
my
a
high
Bengal. No, this
school.
is actually an
Okay.
Ahsoka sweater from
I was like, is
Roosevelt's, by the
someone
way.
from
If you
Piper
guys
in
want
the
to
chat
tag
that I don't know?
Roosevelt's, let them know that we're rocking it tonight. No, but that's my dude Jordan. All right, so
Okay.
I'll touch on this point real
That
quick
was my
before we
high
go
school
further.
mascot.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay. But it's
everybody.
just the story's not really progressing though, and this evil twin thing is just not working for me. There's not and I knew that she was going to be set up for the Kelnaka thing. Like you saw that coming. She walks in and you're like, oh great, she's going to get blamed for this, even though she didn't do it, and she's starting to have a
I
change
do
of
hate
heart.
when they like do this setup thing. I'm like, ugh, really?
That misunderstanding thing that's like, no, it's not. I loathe that in any TV show or movie. But
I
I'm
do
not
too.
there yet, but I'm not going to quit because I'm hoping that it will still pay off. But I said
Yeah,
I didn't like the twin thing from the beginning. I don't like the twin thing.
all right. I'm gonna dissect this real quick. So let's come on through a path. Trust me, there's nobody gonna.
I thought it
I
was
do
going to be
have a
one of the twins'
lightsaber.
moms
Don't worry, I have a
too.
lightsaber, but I'm not going to be cutting anybody up in these woods. Come with us.
I have
Yeah.
a
So we all kind of
stormtrooper
like.
helmet.
Some people thought that it was going to be their mom, which I'm going to touch on that in a second, actually, because there's a theory I might have here going into more. But so first things first, you thought, okay, the Jedi were cannon fodder. Yes, I do agree with that. You knew when they brought extra Jedi, like they're definitely going to die. Like, all right, for sure. But I didn't expect Yord, first of all. He got pretty jacked up, and then his his poor little neck got broken. Jackie, not somebody I thought was gonna bite the dust either, and then she got triple
I
stabbed.
didn't think she was,
Um,
and he didn't even seem that like sold. Was like, oh, just move on. Like he's already using her in the past tense, and that was his freaking Padawan.
well, it's
Tom
the
just said,
Jedi.
"Hold up,
Like,
whose birthday is it? You need to watch The Boys, and then you would know why we have Fudgy the whale cake on the."
Master Mundi got retconned. Okay, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. All right. It's
You know,
not the
I
Parent Trap.
honestly
It's the
thought that
sibling
that was
trap.
a.
Yes,
I went to Parent Trap too. They're 100% like parent trapping
they
this.
are.
It's like unless they sing "Let's get together," yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that's the only way they can make this
Okay.
Parent
All
Trap thing
right.
work.
All right.
Uh,
Back to my point though.
okay, I'm
Let's
sorry.
talk about the Jedi getting killed. Yes. However, they did raise the stakes. They didn't just needlessly kill any. They killed him and really cool. There's a Jedi kebab and then to cutting the head off. There was people getting cut, stabbed, all sorts of things. I thought was pretty cool. So it kind of shows you the power and the rawness. It was very visceral. It was brutal. It was the fight, the heaviness to it. That I really appreciated. I thought that was cool. But my point with the twins is I agree with the twins. I don't think that storyline is the main storyline. However, I think that's there as a plot device. It's the subplot, which I don't think it's a good subplot. I've been very vocal about that myself. I don't really care about May. I don't care about Osha. I feel like they don't really serve anything to the bigger, like, May and Osha just were there to stand by, look scared, and run away the whole time in this episode and most episodes. Now, I think the bigger plot at hand is who is Quimir's master. That's what I think we're getting to. I think we're getting to this big reveal because there's something between Soul and the stranger.
We
Because
still don't
it
know
is
what
all about me,
happened
real quick, Mom. It is. Or
with
if
the
we can be,
kids.
it's not. You're right. But for a second there, we don't know what happened in the past. And Quimir was even like, "You don't remember me," and Soul was like, "Something feels familiar." So they have a
But that
history together.
I honestly thought that was just when they had met before at the shop.
No, I think there's something
Can
deeper there. There's got to be something deeper, and I think that we're gonna introduce. I can never pronounce his name. Tenenbaum. Like there's Darth Tenen, whatever pronounce his name.
Tannenbaum? What are you singing a
Yeah, well,
Christmas
he's like
song?
that. He's got like
Oh,
this squid
Tannenbaum.
octopus looking face, who also trained Plagueis. Now, Plagueis learned how to manipulate the Force. Now, there was a whole point where Osha was talking about how you can't beat him. He gets in your head and he stays there. And then she was like, my mom did the same thing. So her mom was kind of a dark force user. And people have speculated that Quimir was actually standing at that night a long time ago. And I'm very curious to see if Quimir actually is under the like the bigger plot at hand. I think is that Plagueis, who trained Emperor Palpatine, is the big bad villain of this whole series, and we're building up to something that happened with Soul to reveal Plagueis, and that Quimir is a Sith apprentice looking for his own apprentice to take on Plagueis, and I think Quimir is ultimately going to die, Darth Arms, if you will, because that baby is jacked. But yeah, the missing energy is the visceral pull that Star Wars can summon in its best moments. I just love it. It's funny. It wasn't a mind. I thought the first 15 minutes was the most mind blowing, like the heaviness of the lightsabers, the battling of the lightsabers. It's something that we haven't seen in a
Oh, and the
long time.
lightsaber is going out too. For a second, I thought, is this because this is
Okay,
older? How we talked about like the back to tanks aren't that great yet. Like,
like
yeah, hyperspace
let's get to
travel
this.
isn't as common yet. So yeah,
Lauren's mom's in the chat. Hey, Lori. All right, let's get to this then. All right, so the reason why the lightsaber shorted out was because he had armor. It was an ancient armor known as cortosis. Now, this is an armor that is resistant to lightsabers. It can even cause them to short out for a small period of time. So his helmet's made out of it, as you see when he headbutts. I've never seen somebody headbutt a lightsaber before, but I was like really kind of turned on by that fact. Like, oh, okay, daddy.
she would like burn your head.
Well, but
I guess
it's
he just hit the
cortosis.
hilt.
That's the metal.
Oh my god.
And then
Oh,
he
he
had
hit.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He had the armor on his one hand, so that's why he was able to block it. As you saw with Yord, he blocked Yord, and then he brought him into the headlock and
So
snap.
it's like
So it's
Mandalorian,
cortosis.
where their armor is designed to defeat the
Yes,
Jedi.
it's a very old, very rare type of metal that is resistant against lightsabers.
I was
It's
gonna
a
say it
very
has
deep
to
pull.
be
Very
rare,
deep
or they
pull.
would have it, in the future. I always want to say the present, but I'm like,
No,
what is the
like
present in Star Wars? There is no present.
this is how you know the showrunners like know their shit though, because like that's a deep pool. Like, not a lot of people knew what that was, and
But I wonder how much of that is making people not like the show. Because like, for me, I almost feel like I need to go and rewatch everything again because I'm just like, "Oh, okay, wait," and I'm, like, starting to think things. And even with the Monday guy, I was like, maybe a lot of his species just looks very familiar, and that's a different person?
Well, no, so the big thing, first of all, my mom says, wasn't he cutting them off at the base instead of shorting them out? No, he was hitting them, and that shorts out the lightsaber because their lightsabers came back on. But with Kiadi Mundi, remember they've been making a very big point through the show to say that the Jedi are trying to purposely not let anybody know what's going on because they're political opponents. Also, he doesn't believe that it's an actual Sith. And then Quymir says when Soul is like, "Who are you?" And
Oh,
then
yeah,
he goes, "I don't have a name." He goes, "But a Jedi might call me Sith." He doesn't say that I'm a Sith. He says that you might refer to me as a Sith, but I don't have a name. And then all he wants is a pupil. That's all he wants to be able to practice the Force how he wants. He wants a pupil of his own, and he doesn't have a name or a purpose kind of deal. So that's another big thing. So the Sith don't technically actually exist yet. And then also the Jedi are very adamant about not letting anybody know that there's a Sith running around.
Right. Well, and I think that they also, because they have to be consistent with the
Right. I
prequel
mean,
trilogy.
but also, like, not for nothing though. Like, think of how many times like movies also kind of like retcon some stuff too at the same time. It's a very big throwaway line. The Sith have been extinct for millennia. Well, maybe he just I don't know. Like I'm okay with
Also be
that
what
with the
you're
Rama
aware of and what
thing.
you're not aware of, and what information you have access to and you don't have access to. It's like, we don't know everything that's going on in our
Right.
lives.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. I'm okay with things. But I do agree that as the episode went on, it kind of slowed down. I know people are like cutting hair with a lightsaber is so lame. We literally saw Yoda cut Obi-Wan's in
Okay,
the Clone Wars movie a long time ago. He cut Obi-Wan's as I ripped my headphones off, Padawan braid off. He cut it off with his lightsaber.
okay,
He's done it
I
before.
thought it was lame too, but they do that in so many TV shows and movies, and it's almost always lame. Because if other than Mulan was the only one who pulled off the chopping off her hair with a sword and it looking badass. That is, and I'm talking the cartoon Mulan.
Right.
It was cheesy. She threw it back, you do it, and then I mean, like, all these
I
people who
yeah,
cut their
okay.
hair in movies and they're like, "This is a moment where I'm
It
like
doesn't come
character
out even like
developing."
that, okay?
Right, can we have one realistic scene where it's, like, half jacked and whatever, and now they have messed up bangs and like, "Oh, well, this was a terrible mistake. I do not feel, like,
I
free
do
and
like
or
that
like
she
I'm gonna
cut it and then
deceive
all of a
someone."
sudden it's like, "Oh,
And it just
hey,
sizzles
yeah."
off, and then she flips, she's like,
She looks just like her all of a sudden, like, as a perfect cut, and I'm like, "Alright, I don't
okay,
know if that's the case, but."
anybody who knows identical twins, if you know the identical twins, they do not look identical. You can always tell identical twins apart when you know them. And these people know Osha and they know May and they are force sensitive. So I feel like there's no way they could have parent trapped
Oh,
this.
I think Soul knows. I have a feeling that Soul knows because, another thing is
And he's
somebody was
okay with just
complaining.
leaving Osha?
I don't know. Maybe he thinks she's dead. I don't know. Okay. Also, like the Jedi were shrouded by the dark side before, but I got a feeling like maybe he just wasn't in tune with the Force at that moment because of everything that had happened. Jackie died, Yor died, all the other Jedi died. He's the only survivor. He
He's
barely
handling it
escaped.
pretty well right now. Maybe
He
he's just
is. I
in
mean, he's a
shock.
Jedi master, so they kind of like Jedi don't form, whatever. But I
I
almost
mean,
feel as
Obi-Wan, they still
though
have feelings.
they do. But I mean, I almost feel like there's I don't know, I don't know. I feel like he's gotta know, right? Like, that's silly. I feel like he's gotta know or, like, something's gonna come into play because 'cause I'm not buying her storyline either. I think there's something bigger because the guy who played Martian Manhunter in Supergirl?
Mhm.
He is a cast member on this show, and we haven't seen him yet, and he's very familiar with playing
Mm.
CGI monsters, which makes me think we're getting another the Master.
I really like him in Supergirl. I
Agreed.
like him as the Martian Man and Manhunter. See, I
I
didn't know
very
that.
much agree. But
He really
he's slated
wasted
to be
that
on the show.
Wookiee. Do
Yeah,
you think
dude,
we'll
I'm
get
so
more
mad that they killed the
flashbacks?
Wookiee off screen. I hope we don't get more flashbacks. I don't care. The twins were born through the Force. We saw that with the mothers manipulating the Force. I think one of the mothers still alive. I think she's the one that taught Plagueis how to manipulate the Force to create life, which is what he does with Anakin. So that doesn't break anything. But Yeah, I don't know. I have that the twins are my big problem. They're my glaring problem in this show. I still really I like the show, but the twins are admittedly my problem too. Like I do
Very
think they're an issue.
short too. Like, I almost feel like if we weren't
They
doing
don't
these
do
cantina
anything.
hours, or if I wasn't worried about spoilers, I would prefer to almost wait and have it just be longer.
That's my
It's
other
like
problem.
30
Yeah,
minutes. It's so
they're
freaking short
30-minute
for a show
episodes
like
with
this.
100%, especially when you got shows like The Boys and The Bear. They're out there doing hour and 6-minute
Right,
episodes.
House of the
Like
Dragon, yeah.
House of Dragons, a full hour. I kind of wish Disney would kind of lean in if they're doing 8 episode series, lean into actually doing. Um, dang, Travis, you did.
I
He
mean,
cut
you
his.
can. I don't
He
know if it
can,
will
I guess.
if you do,
Like,
please post a before and after. I'd love to see how it turns out.
yeah, I would love it before and after. Jose says OSHA versus May when. I think May is going to die and OSHA is going to become the acolyte. And so then if Quymere takes on his own apprentice, it's going to be OSHA. And then who knows what happens from there? Because they want to do multiple seasons. They're waiting to see if they get picked up for another season. The showrunner says that they have ideas for multiple seasons. So I'm curious to see.
I mean, they
I
better
want
end that
more.
show with a banger if they want people to
They got
I mean,
3
I'll end up
episodes left.
watching it no
Yeah.
matter what, but
But I see people's complaints. It's not a flawless show. I wholeheartedly understand why people are not loving it. However, I don't like the people that are blatantly hate watching it just so they can make a video talking about how bad Disney is and how they killed Star Wars. Like, I think that's a bit aggressive. Calm
well,
down,
yeah, I
buddy.
don't agree with that. I mean, I enjoyed Mandalorian season 3 very much. I
I
really
didn't.
enjoyed Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I
I
didn't. I didn't.
enjoyed
That's okay.
Boba Fett.
I loved
I
Obi-Wan. Yeah.
enjoyed all
Okay,
of
calm down.
those more than I'm enjoying The Acolyte. But how it
Really? You
ends could
enjoyed Boba
totally
Fett more than the Acolyte?
so far, yes, but I the show's not over, so I don't know how it's gonna go. Because with Boba Fett, I felt like there was more going on. I was more invested. I was familiar with the characters. Where here, it's like they're barely getting you acquainted with these characters, and they're just straight up murdering them. So I'm like, should I
That's fair.
care? But
The
I mean,
Yord
I
Horde
feel
is
like
in
I should
shambles.
care. I mean, well,
Yord
even
Horde
him,
shambles.
it was. I didn't dislike him. He seemed like a frat guy that grew up and got a job at a good company.
It's all about this
Um,
daddy right here.
I mean, every time I see him now, I'm just gonna be say Duval.
Don't care about her, but yeah, no, you're right. Like okay,
I
but
liked
speaking of
Soul, but this episode I liked him the least. But we still don't know what happened
there's something in his past.
with
There's
but,
something there.
but we still don't know what the hell happened with the girls when the girls were little
Okay,
on that planet.
yeah, that's right.
She's
Well,
accusing
how do you
May
feel
of
about this
shit that
character?
oh god, if you what are you gonna do? I knew that was coming.
What's your thoughts on Darth Jar Jar?
Um so watching the boys actually, I thought I had to say to Josh, like, because they had a Huey had a cat named Jar Jar, and I
He
had to go
did,
through
he did, yes, because Simon
explain who
Pegg's a big
Jar
Star
Jar
Wars
was
fan
to my
too.
husband. Yeah.
All right, so we'll kind of wrap up the Acolyte here in a second. They did mention some things at the end. Uh they mention his past. There's more to the past. They're not telling us the whole thing. There's something big missing, especially between Soul and possibly Quymere. And I do love how Manny was able to basically like his helmet came off and dude, the coldest line was that its name? Like, dog. And then he was like, she was Soul was like, she was a child. And he goes, you brought her here. Like, so what? I was like, dang, this dude went so hard. And then he
I mean, he
jacked on
makes a
top of
good
that. Like,
point.
he
And I
does
feel like
though.
these Jedi don't fight many people. Like, they're not used to fighting, so it would
Well, they're
also
not
make
there hasn't been Sith around.
sense.
They kind of went
Right,
extinct in a long we're in an area of peace. This Jedi aren't fighting other
right.
well, because
So,
remember, like
yeah,
Yord, yeah, he was basically like, it doesn't make sense. He doesn't follow any rules of combat. He just there's no rhyme or reason, and it's like,
because it's every man for
yeah,
himself. This
he's a
isn't a
Sith.
freaking
Like, of
competition.
course he doesn't, because he's a Sith, man. Like the Sith don't follow rules. Like that's the point, dude. You got to adjust to combat. Like, get it together.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
I
mean,
d- I I do see your
people are gonna
complaints.
fish hook and punch you in the crotch. You can do what you
Hit him in the
gotta
dick.
do. Hey, it
I
works
mean, I would
sometimes.
have, but I just want to give my final thoughts on Jackie. She fought the best out of anybody that touched a lightsaber in this episode. Not to mention when her and May were hand to hand combating, like she was serving. Oh my lord, she was kicking some serious. And then she had the double lightsabers.
When she
She
did
was
kick her
drop
ass.
kicking people. She comes flying in, drop kicking May at first, and dude, Daphne Keene, hats off. Daphne Keane deserves the roses. I
She
would love to
deserves
see her in
to,
everything.
be in the MCU as
I would
Laura.
love to see her back as Laura as well. Like she deserves to be in more because she was so ungodly badass that like, dude, Jackie, man, I ought to. This is the first time that Star Wars has actually got a reaction out of me like that, watching it or a TV show. When I was sitting there and I was talking to Carrie, I was like, dude, I'm loving Jackie. She might be my favorite character. And then 3 minutes
Oh,
later, she gets triple stabbed. I literally,
you did it,
you can
man.
ask
It's your
Carrie.
fault.
I was like, no. I yelled really loud, and Carrie's like, what's your problem? I was like, she's stabbed 3 times. Like that was really cool. He pulled it out like the bottom, like hit that little lightsaber, and then, but like I was like, I yelled very audibly. I was very surprised, and then I gasped when Yord got his neck broken. So I will give it to Star Wars. Like I didn't think they had balls to do something dark like that. Like Star Wars, they chop hands off. They stab people, but they don't kebab Jedi. They don't break necks with their bare hands. Like that was pretty
Yeah,
brutal.
I was kind of surprised at the neck breaking because that's not a go-to move in Star Wars.
And that's like, and again, that dude was. God, I could just talk about his arms all day, man. That dude is yoked out of his mind. Like I would join the
Well,
dark side just for the fucking secrets behind how to get jacked like that.
as soon as I saw the arms, I'm like, okay, it's not one of the moms.
No,
Because
yeah, yeah.
mom,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
That was a
like,
very masculine arm. I mean,
yeah, I
could
mean,
have been a
I've
muscle
seen
mommy,
girls that are
but
super jacked like that, but I didn't think either of the moms were jacked like that. Like that was, yeah,
right.
and he's on the Marvel diet or some shit.
It was absolutely wild. So that's my final thoughts. Do you have any final thoughts? And then I'll let you get in the driver's seat to talk about the boys.
No, I don't have any more final thoughts.
All right. Well, real quick before we dive into the boys, as always, if you are watching, man, drop that like button, follow us on social media, share with your friends, share with your mom. Lauren and my both mom are in here.
Moms are in the chat.
Shout out to my boy Jose from work. That's my boy right there. He's in here too. So I really appreciate everybody in the chat. Travis, Tom, the Mark, Tom, and Travis show, if you will. This is
Hey,
Cantina Hour,
I saw that
where
last week.
yeah, so this is Canteen Hour. We just free flow. If you've never seen it before, we just talk, and most of the time we're reviewing shows. There's a lot out there right now, and it's done because our patrons. So shout out to our patrons who buy into the show. For even $1, you can support the show. You get early ad-free
In the
episodes. It goes
arms
into letting us do
of
this. Lauren does
Jesus,
have a new design that we're hopefully going to have some
fly
stickers for
away
here soon or something.
from
But
me.
that's how you can
Yes,
support the show, man.
I need
Do
to get on
that.
that.
Help us out. And then, Lauren, why don't you now dive into the boys?
Oh my. Okay, so warning, spoilers for the boys for the last 2 episodes. Or maybe we should just talk the 4th episode because number 5 dropped this morning. So if you didn't watch it,
Well, if the
we're just
spoiler
gonna
alert,
go.
if
Okay,
we're
spoiler
going
alert.
into it. The spoiler alert.
So
If you didn't watch it yet, then you can, by all
come back
means,
later.
listen. Or I'm going to post this on the audio only feeds. I am also gonna. This is on YouTube, so please come back.
All right.
But if you hear spoilers the whole way,
So, episode 4. Obviously, the big takeaway for I think all of us was Anthony Starr's performance, where
yes.
he went home. And this was really going into the backstory of why he is the way that he is, because he's
Mhm.
such a complex character. He is a complete villain. I'm not going to say he is a nice guy by any means whatsoever. He is
Oh yeah.
100% a villain, but his story is still tragic, and his upbringing, we learned more, is even more tragic. And somebody had pointed out, I wish I could remember where I saw it because I'd like to give them credit, but did you remember the cartoon Diabolical? It came out a
Yeah.
while ago. So, I mean, I want to go back and rewatch. I'll probably rewatch those
I need to
after this
rewatch it
season
because there's 3
is over.
episodes that are considered canon, right?
Well, I thought they all were. They're not.
No, I only heard there's only 3 episodes that they made a point to say that these are the ones you should pay attention to.
Okay, well then this one probably is because it goes into Homelander's past. How when Homelander, the cartoon, when they introduce Homelander into the Seven, and they ask him about his past, and he is giving this bullshit story about baseball and his dad and this and that, and it's cutting to him being tortured. And so we got to see the live action bit of that, and it was very interesting because he goes home to confront these people who are scientists who were just following orders. As soon as that guy said I was following orders, like,
Oh, you knew he was dead.
yeah, that's a Nazi line, dude. The Nazis were
It
just following
is.
orders. Like that
Yeah.
is what bad guys say who don't think they're bad guys who are working for bad guys. So I felt bad in the realm of like, this is incredibly inhumane and Homelander's torturing them, but almost felt like they deserved it.
I mean, they did, honestly, like, that's the thing about this universe, right? Is there's not really any clear-cut good guy. There's
Mhm.
not. Uh, I mean, especially these scientists,
Annie
like, they didn't have to
thinks
still
she's a
work there.
clear-cut good guy, but something's going on with her.
She's losing it.
Yeah.
She's becoming
She
unhinged by everything. I mean, she beat the shit out of Firecracker. Yes, she was justified, but again, you saw it.
doesn't matter if you're justified, she
No,
still
it was
did it.
public.
And she would
Yeah.
have been she got upset with Huey when Huey got upset that, Firecracker released her medical records, and then she was like, "Huey, you getting upset isn't helping." You just punched her. You think that
You just
helps?
beat the life out of her on
Like,
national
you
television
just
and then
caused,
lost the
like
sponsorship with the future president.
right, and, like, Robert Singer's like, "Well, that bill was gonna pass," but then in this newer episode, her powers are fading and her anger is increasing, so what's going on? That's not
Something's
normal.
up. Yeah,
I know, but,
100.
do you why don't you tell me about the Homelander scene? How what did you take away from that? Because I know I still have more to say because I could just go on and
From
on
when he
about
was down in the basement, with the lab?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I knew right away once he came off there with the cake, um, nothing good was going to happen from it, right? Like, you kinda knew, like, he was fine, it's fine, it's fine, and then it gets to the point where he plays that game where they're throwing the paper in the trash, he ends up lighting that guy on fire in the oven, which is just brutal.
But
Crazy.
they were doing that to him as a
Well,
child,
that's what he says, like,
which is
everything he did to them, they
so
did like, "You burned me, and then you, like, shot me, and then you used to laugh at me, like, I thought I had alone time, and then but no, like, you were
and
watching
he's like,
me."
"It was the only time of the day, like, I could do something that, felt good or whatever." I'm trying to find the tweet. There was a tweet with Carvel where they, had mentioned it earlier. I thought I had screenshot it. Son of a nutcracker. So Carvel actually shared the boys thing and was like, "It's always a good occasion for a fudgy cake or Fudgy the Whale cake."
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But, I mean, the head guy used to watch him while he, masturbated, which is really fucked up because he was a kid, first of all. So he makes him do it in front of everybody, and then they laugh at him, which was an improvised scene by Anthony Starr, by the way. He improvised laughing and all that kinda stuff, but it's just like,
Oh my god, it was
while
so
he's
dark when he
it
laughed
was
at him.
so
So
dark,
dark.
dude. Yeah, I thought the whole thing, like, it was one of the best episodes of the Boys series, period, in my opinion, like,
Just
without a
yeah,
doubt.
just with that scene. And what also was interesting when they brought in the other lady, Barbara,
Oh, yeah,
and,
yeah.
like, you could tell she was scared, but she also, she's calling him John. She's
Yep.
very like, she didn't have to come back. She chose to come back. She obviously was somewhat of a figure in his life growing up. Um, but she described his birth. And so I've read the comics and I didn't even put this together, but if you watch on Amazon, there's actually a thing you can like click and it gives you fun facts.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things we clicked on it and I'm like, oh my God, it is. So the birth that they described of Homelander, where he lasered out of the mom's tummy or out of the surrogate's tummy and like killed people in the room and flew up, that is actually Ryan's birth in the comics. But
Oh,
then Butcher, because he doesn't know Becca's pregnant, and then Becca just starts screaming, and they don't name him Ryan in the comic. He's just the Homelander's baby comes out and kills her, and then Butcher beats him to death.
right.
Sounds so terrible saying it aloud. I mean, that was even like reading the comic. It was like, holy like that was one of those
But
I had
that's
to
how they
almost
describe it in the show, though, is he came out, that's how he killed,
right, but they
like, when he
didn't
was
beat the
born.
baby to death. But
Well,
that's what she's,
no.
explaining like with this everybody was terrified of you. So it was like, okay, that makes sense. And then they brought in these psychologists because the only way they could control him was mentally, but that doesn't justify them torturing him.
No, I mean, he was being tortured, like, let's call it, yeah, you were testing him to see what he could
No, this
resist.
was a child that was in
It was a
pain.
child who felt everything at the end of the day, and it was really messed up, and I also want to give my hats off to Jack Quaid, who's been doing a really good job as far as his acting this season, showing the emotional beats with Simon Pegg, his dad. And then, Kamiko's storyline and Frenchie's not really going anywhere, but Frenchie did tell Colin that it was him who killed his parents at the end of the episode. And then he gets his ass beat by Colin and never see him
But
again.
he lets it. He like wants Colin to
Well,
kill
yeah,
him.
I mean, yeah, because Frenchie's he feels guilt.
Yeah. Frenchie's like not an evil person, but he's done some of the most evil shit imaginable.
Yeah. And I
And Yeah.
I'm in and out on Frenchie's character. Like, I feel like they're not really doing him and Kamiko justice at all because Frenchie just kind of is there spinning tires every season at this point. So I kind of wish they did more with Frenchie, but
I feel like they are now, especially with how this one ended where he's turning himself in. And he's like, I think he doesn't, he tells Starlight like, I can't, some people can't be forgiven if the crime, I deserve eternal damnation. And I think he's trying to
right.
give that to himself because it was, I believe it's like the first time he's really seen somebody he cares about that
Yeah.
was severely negatively impacted
Yeah.
by it's the first time Frenchie's seen the consequences of his actions on somebody who didn't deserve them.
No, that's a really good point, actually. It is. And he's hurt a lot of people. And I mean, the boys in general, like this season's very about everyone's discombobulated, right? At this point, everyone's all over the place. No one really
Oh
trusts
yeah.
each other. Everyone's kind of split up. So yeah, I mean, episode 5, I didn't feel like there was a lot, but I do feel like there was a lot, but there wasn't a lot. So we'll start with
I
Huey's dad.
Yeah, I did
They
feel like
injected
not
him.
too much happened, but then a lot happened. Yeah, go
Right.
ahead. Huey's
Well,
dad. Oh my
Huey's
god, and
dad.
he like runs through the guy.
Oh, all right. So at the end of the episode, A Train gives Huey V because he needs it to save his dad, which his mom turns out to inject his dad at the end of the episode, and he's up and walking. And now in this episode, he has power. He's thrown back mentally to thinking that Huey's 11 years old, and he's talking about
Well, he had a
that.
stroke. So
Yeah,
his brain is not did not recover. So I thought that was very interesting when he's like, we've seen what it does to healthy people. And like, they were gonna pull the plug. He was like brain dead.
yeah. And so they throw that back, and he just runs. He has I don't it's like super speed, but at the same like he's like phases
It's
through
like
things.
kitty pride.
Or Flash when he phases through walls and things. I mean,
Oh
because
yeah.
he accidentally took that guy's heart out, and then he like phased through and exploded the guy that was laying in the hospital bed and other things. So it was like
It was weird with
crazy.
the heart. Like what made him pull the heart out? Like that
Yeah, I
seemed
mean, maybe he
very
like went to grab him and he phased through on accident, and then it came out the other side. I don't know. Maybe it's
oh.
one of those things, but yeah. So his dad has that. They're trying to figure out what happens. Meanwhile, the boys go and rescue a familiar face. Stan Edgar is back. Giancarlo Esposito is back,
Oh,
and
gotta love any scene with him.
they talk about the virus and how Victoria Newman. He's like, well, that's based on my daughter. I taught her everything she knows. And he's like, well, what about her daughter? She's this, and
Right, because he didn't
so
know they gave Zoe, Compound
right.
V.
And so they go to this farm where, Samir, they're looking for Samir, who has created the virus, and
Who we met in,
yeah, Rogue One.
Andor.
And Rogue One. He was in Rogue One as well.
Oh, yeah.
But he's in Star Wars. However, yes, so very familiar face. And from there, man, it's kind of crazy because they were practicing on these animals, like the bunny, for example, had it. And these
That was a
animals
nice
were
moment where Butcher saw it was Temp V, and Butcher empathized with it, and my husband's like, "What is he doing?" I'm like, "He feels bad for the bunny because he knows this is his future. He's letting the bunny." Butcher's not evil. Butcher's just I don't know. I love Butcher. I loved when he
well,
told
that's the thing that
Annie,
they
like,
said.
she didn't even deserve to be called a "See you next Tuesday."
Oh, I love that. I would call you that, but you're not warm or deep enough. And I was like, ooh. I almost texted you that, but I was like, no, I'll save it for later. I was like, oh shit, dude, that was a good burn. Like, dang, I
Yeah.
did like that.
I don't know what it is, man. Annie is just rubbing me the wrong way, and every time
I
she's
don't like.
mean
I
to
have not liked her the last
Butcher
2 seasons. So
I know, I dislike her more every time she's mean to Butcher. She has such high expectations for everybody else, and she doesn't hold herself to those high
she's such a
expectations.
hypocrite, dude, by
And
a
I feel like
mile.
she wasn't in the first 2 seasons. I don't think she became a hypocrite till season 3 with
Well,
Soldier Boy.
yeah, I mean, she's become very jaded. I mean, they all have, right? Annie
I
is
mean,
this
rightfully so, yeah.
pageant child who never at all she was sheltered and she had powers and she was told how gifted she was, but then she was assaulted by the deep, and then it just kind of spiraled from there, and now she figured out like what soups really are. And it's, I mean, rightfully so, it's jaded her. I get it, I don't fault her, but at the same time, like, she's just mean to everybody,
She is,
Huey included.
and she does think she's better than everybody. I feel like that's what
She
it is. Like,
does, yeah.
powers or no powers, she thinks and acts like she is better than everybody.
100%.
And that drives me nuts.
Same. I agree. But meanwhile, let's talk about this. Let's talk about,
Oh, I
beginning of the
loved
episode.
this.
What's going on with Homelander and Ryan in the meantime?
I love that Homeland it's so funny because, again, I'm not defending Homelander. He is evil. But ever since he met Ryan, he has made good points and he struggled with Ryan and was like, "I don't understand why you're upset. You have everything I wanted." And then
Yeah.
he went and murdered a bunch of people that tortured him in his childhood and he came back and he's like, "You know what? I realize the error of my ways in parenting you." And this is Homelander's way of trying to be a better father. He's listening to Ryan. He wants to know what Ryan wants. And then watching this sick, twisted mind truly try to be a better father, but in his way
Yeah.
is oh my gosh, it's fantastic.
It
But
is.
it's all the more reason why Ryan needs to get the fuck away from Homelander.
I mean, agree. So, I mean, the director of the VOT movies, right, is talking to them about Ryan's superhero movie, and then the assistant comes in and he's creepy towards her. So then later on in this scene, like I just showed you, they're watching this go down. The director's there, and he basically tells Ryan what to do. So Ryan goes up, and he's like, "Is this guy bothering you? It's okay. I want you to tell the truth." And so she does, and the director is obviously very scared. And then Ryan says, "Slap him," and then
I
she
love her
starts.
reaction though. Like she wanted to, and
She
you
did.
could tell because she kept going, and it was like she needed to get that out because, yeah, she kept feeling uncomfortable, and, like, she felt like she couldn't say
It
anything.
was great. Yeah, I
It
mean,
was
100%.
fantastic.
But you see that dark side of Ryan, that Homelander. Yeah, he's trying to be a better dad, but look what he's doing at the same time. He's like, "We're
Right,
better than these
he's
people. We have the power. Show it off," and
yeah,
that's kind of a consequence of that. So,
right.
and
Poor
then they sip
that
the
actor,
milkshakes
man.
afterwards too. Like,
But the actor, I'm like, "This kid is deep in
oh, he has a
puberty right
TikTok. Have
now."
you seen his TikTok? Like, he makes TikToks about scenes from each episode of The Boys. It's actually funny. I recommend
Wow.
looking him up on TikTok because it is funny because he does do that. He was
He's killing
watching
his role. He's
he was
fantastic.
watching the episode with the sauna with his parents, I guess, and he made a TikTok about that.
Oh my gosh, that's well, because I mean, I know he's not actually
He's a
12,
kid.
he's older than 12,
No,
but
he's a
he's still
teenager
young.
still. I mean, like,
Um, so I did actually there was another one. So Eric or no, it wasn't Eric Kripke. But Eric Kripke did say he can't believe they got away with the sauna scene and that there was somewhere Amazon Prime Video in India, the scene was banned.
oh my, I'm not surprised. I mean, a lot of those countries
But
have a lot.
yeah, Kripke's like, I'm shocked we were able to get away with that because I don't know if anybody remembers. I'm sure you remember the scene of Homelander pleasuring himself atop the city at the end
Yep,
of
they
season
weren't allowed to
two.
do that at first, right?
That was supposed to be season 1, and Prime was like, "Yeah, no." And then after the show did so well, I feel like they're now just like, "Just do whatever you want. The show is killing it. Everybody's watching it. We
Isn't
don't
that's
care
kind of
anymore."
crazy? Like, it's legitimately pretty crazy that it's like, you know what? You have full
I
reign,
mean, their
whatever you
goal is
want.
to make money. Like, yeah, as long as the
And it's
money's
the
coming
hottest
in.
TV show out there right now, especially for
Yeah,
Amazon Prime. I
Tom, you need
mean,
to watch it. Tom doesn't watch The
it's
Boys.
it's okay. You don't watch The Bear.
Oh, so somebody just commented they hope they finish it the way the comics did. So they've come out actually, and it sounds like they're unless they're messing with us, but they have said that they're not going to end it like the
Wow,
comic did.
they have said that, but I do agree, forever new readers, shout out to you in the on the YouTube. Yeah, I wonder how they're gonna do that because I don't wanna spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it yet, but
I know I'm always real careful about not saying the ending of the
they
comic.
have said that they're not gonna do it like the comic, but there are beats that I feel like they're heading to. I'm very interested, but something else from this episode that we're kinda getting closer to is Sage is on to A-Train. She knows A-Train did it.
Oh, 100% she knows. Yeah.
So, like, what's her end game? I'm very curious because A-Train's very nervous. They end up ultimately at the end of the episode, they blame it on
They throw
the
Cameron
news
Coleman
guy.
under the bus,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
When I
then
was
they
seeing
all
it, I'm
beat
like, "Wow,
him.
this guy's getting a lot of TV time, like, good for
Yeah.
him showing up," and then Hell Hath No Fury, like, Ashley Scorn.
Well,
I didn't
we
know
also
he was
get 2 Gen
married.
V characters too.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the
Yeah.
dudes, "I'm gonna fuck your wife." I was like, "Gee, okay, whatever,
Oh my
nerd."
gosh, and I can still breathe, oh my god,
Yeah, but, like, at the end of this
like,
episode, I know we're kinda jumping ahead real quick, but at the end of this episode, Homelander's like, "People aren't gonna like us. We gotta do things because we have to save America." And it's a
gonna get
very
ugly.
scary speech because now they're taking the gloves off, maybe, and, then they beat him to death because A-Train got with Ashley, was like, "Hey, it was me who did the leak. We promised that we're gonna stick together. I need your help with this." And so
Mhm.
she basically plants text messages on his phone to incriminate him,
He's like, "I
but
don't know who Marvin Milk is."
yeah, but Sister Sage knows it's A-Train. A-Train's not very subtle about his scaredness either in that room, but she knows. So I'm wondering what her end game is. But yeah, they end up killing him at the end, which is brutal
Well, I
again.
wonder. So yeah, now they're saying they're A Train. I'm all for the A Train
I'm
redemption
all
arc,
on. I'm
especially
on
because
the train for redemption.
it's
Absolutely.
been. I feel like it's been building since season one. Like you've seen him
Yes.
always kind of go a little like, okay, I want to do this, and then I feel like he gets scared of losing his life and his fame. He's not just concerned about his life. I think he's genuinely concerned about his
Right.
fame. Um, but actually, to go back to the ending too of the comic, I feel like they do nods to the ending when he's talking to himself in the mirror with
Yeah.
like the dual personality. So I feel like that's what they're kind of pulling from the comic
That's
because
a good
obviously
point.
they can't do the exact end because we know what happened to Noir at this point in the show.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I'm loving the A Train thing. I
I hope
wonder
he
though
doesn't
if
die.
A Train knows that Ashley let Queen Maeve go.
I don't
Because I
think
feel like
so.
Homelander would be livid because he says, "I know
Oh
you've
yeah.
done other stuff. You didn't just take
Oh,
shit in
good
Homelander's
point.
toilet." So that's what I'm wondering
That's a good point. I didn't think
that
about that. He might. I really hope A Train doesn't die. Like they're building up to his death at the end of the season, and I kind of hope that's not the case.
if he
But
does, I feel like he'll go out saving Huey in some way.
yeah, that's a fair. I feel like we're heading towards like the boys splitting apart at the end of the season before they get back together for the triumphant finale of season 5. I also feel like Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character, I got
I
vibes
don't
that he's not real.
Yeah, I'm starting to think you're right there because even when Samir I was waiting for Samir to be like, "Who are you talking to?"
Yeah, because the way he was like, he mentioned we, and Samir's like, huh? Because
Right.
Samir's leg gets taken off because these killer animals are running amok on this farm. They're hiding, and then they all end up just dying. And so Victoria Newman's very worried about Samir. They can't find Samir. They find his
He's
leg.
Zoe's dad.
Yeah, it's Zoe's dad. So they find his leg. And so it comes out that Butcher took off his leg from the knee down to basically kidnap Samir to make more of the virus. And so as he's talking to Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Samir's like, what? And so I'm thinking that like it's a Venom situation. I think this is a Venom situation. We know Butcher has powers and he has a dual personality almost. I'm willing to bet that his
Was it
character
oh,
is
so
like
you think it's
Venom.
like a that makes it like it's a parasite because we saw the thing come
Yes.
out of the
Yeah.
bunny.
That's what
So
I
I'm like,
think it
this
is.
is
Yeah.
okay, this is more than yeah, it's something that's taking over because he's like, "Yeah, I have no idea what happened with, Ezekiel."
Yeah, that's 100% because he was like, I don't know. I blacked out because they were like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. I blacked out. And that's all. And then when I woke up,
Right.
but I'm 100% sure that Jeffrey Dean Morgan, just like Becca, are his brain. It's the
Well, Becca
parasite.
definitely is, yeah, but
Well,
Joe that's
obviously she is.
interesting
Yeah.
with
But I think Jeffrey
Joe,
Dean
yeah.
Morgan is too. Yeah.
Which how fucking interesting. But
Yeah.
I mean, I do think he's actually real as well, but I think when Butcher's seeing him, like, I do think he's a person from the past. I think he's
Yeah. I
still
feel
his
like he
comic
died at
book
some point. Yeah.
counterpart. Yeah. Oh, maybe he is dead.
Like,
I
that's what
don't
I'm
know.
thinking, like, because Becca's dead, right? And he's
Right,
envisioning her, so if he's also a figment of his imagination, so to speak, like, I'm willing to bet that he was also somebody from his past that maybe died. That's
right.
kind of the vibes I'm getting, very much so, for sure, and then he's not real. I'm telling you right now, that motherfucker isn't real. Uh
There's your TikTok.
That's true. Oh, good point. Oh, there you go. Lauren's cooking over here. But I mean the animal episode. So what did you think about the whole farm sequence there?
I don't know why Victoria Newman didn't just explode all their brains.
Well, she ended up smashing the driver of Stan Edgar's because they put him back in because he's like, no virus, no
Right, and
getting
so
out free.
but now he's gonna technically be on the run, but I mean, if she's
He
about to
is.
be VPs, then I'm sure she can probably get him a
Yeah,
legit
I'm curious
pardon.
what's going to happen there. Like, are Stan
Who
Edgar
knows?
and Victoria Newman going to team up to take Homelander down? Now we got 3 factions: Victoria Newman, Stan, and then you have the boys, and then you have the 7. So I'm
So are we gonna get the enemy of my
heading.
enemy as my enemy sort of thing, you
I
think?
think it feels like it. So what I'm thinking, obviously we don't know how the season's going to end yet. There's still 3 more episodes, right? There's 8 episodes total. Which crazy, man. Like that, the Acolyte ends the 11th, and then this show ends the next week. Like, we're in such a TV heaven right now that it's like, dang, I'm not ready for this to be over because, like, when do we get season 5? We got to know how it ends. So I'm
I know,
curious
probably
though that
another 2 years.
I hope not,
'Cause
but
it's been 2 years since season 3, but this is a great show to rewatch, and
it
I think then
is.
another season of Gen V will come out, and I think I'm
I don't
gonna
know if the
reread the
planet
comic.
has 2 years left the way we're going. Okay, I need it now. There's so
Yeah,
much shit
well,
out there. But
I
I
do
think
think the part of the end of the comic with Butcher and the boys, I don't think they'll go there at all.
no, but there's that scene from the comic making its rounds where butchers walk on the White House lawn and all the soups are raising up above the White House. I think they're gonna do something like that. I would be very surprised if they
Is it
didn't.
in the White House lawn or is it in the G in front of the G-men?
No, it's the White House lawn.
Okay, did you see they mentioned the G-men? Okay, so how funny was the right after they announced that Marvel's gonna have Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con,
I'm
they
glad
drew
you mentioned this because
that.
let's talk about the VCU.
Oh my god, Teenage Kicks Ditch Day. So I had
We
to
got
explain this to
so
Josh.
much. Super
This
School
is
was Ryan's
hilarious,
movie, first of all. He's in phase 7. Tech
which
Night
I
came
don't think is
on,
happening.
obviously. We got Firecracker, God Help Me. We've got the
Gods and
multiverse, okay? Double standard. Heaven's Miracle, Firecracker, Heaven's Miracle.
Days Past from the Future for G-Men. Oh my god, they're not even
Tech Night,
subtle.
Nightlight. A Train Off the Tracks. The Guardians of Godalkin flipped. Speedwalkers 2 Mauled Race. G-Men Days Past from the Future. Uh Firecrackers, A Christmas Wish.
I wish
Teenage
they would
Teenage
make
Kick
some of
Sex
these.
Ed, like,
Give us a
okay.
Christmas special. Come on,
Black
man. That how
Noir,
fun would that be?
Homelander, like, look at this. It's amazing. The Deep Gods and Dolphins, like, it's amazing. Like, you have all of these different phase 7, 8, 9, 10 ripple with Marvel's big announcement. They're going back to Hall H, but it's hilarious. Just like all of those movies, dude, I was dying.
I was like, yeah, I literally paused it to explain it to Josh. I'm like, this is fucking phenomenal.
I want to point this out. Simon Pegg, who plays Huey's dad, looks so much more like comic book Huey. Well, that's because Simon Pegg is comic book Huey in the comics. We interviewed Derek Robertson, who is the artist behind the boys. Really great dude. He amazing human being. Check that episode out. I can drop it again. But yes, actually, fun fact, they drew Huey after Simon Pegg. So that might be why everybody thinks, hey, they look alike. Well, that's why
And
Simon
then
Pegg's
they
in the show because he's too
told
old to play
Derek
Huey.
had to go sign it off, yeah, and they had to
Yeah.
get, Simon Pegg to sign off that he was, like, okay with it for them to, like, continue or whatever.
Yeah.
Thought that was but I you know what I didn't notice before was I didn't realize Huey's dad's name was Huey. So he actually is Hugh
Oh,
Campbell. I didn't realize that until this episode. I don't know if they never mentioned it and they just always called him Mr. Campbell or Huey's dad. They
I
probably
don't
did call
remember
him Huey,
actually.
but this was the first time I really noticed that he is Hugh, and so I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's Huey Campbell in this. I love that."
That's too funny.
So
Yeah, but that's why he looks because it is Simon Pegg, funny enough, which is awesome. And so let's talk about that then. To talk about the final scenes where Simon,
that
he
was
doesn't want to
sad.
kill
He's
people,
saying,
and
yeah.
it was sad. And I mean, it kind of got to me a little bit because, my grandfather was in the hospital. He thought he was doing well. And then he just passed away 2 days ago. And his thing's tomorrow night, which I can't get to. But so watching that scene with Huey having to say goodbye as he drugs his dad to overdose him and kill him, it was emotional. It was very, you
Mhm.
feel bad. Like, it's hard. Like Huey, that it's his dad was his hero. He talks about, no, it wasn't, Lamplighter or whoever. It was you, dad. You were my hero. And then he overdoses him and they're talking about going to Paris and then he dies. And it's like, damn,
And he says, "I'm
that's
scared."
yeah.
When
Oh
I
man.
was like, "Oh, at least they got to have this moment." And I'm like, "Yeah, but he killed like 3 or 4
He
people,
killed a
so
lot
they
of
get to
people
have
and
this
he's covered in blood.
moment."
And so it's like, but that's the thing about the boys, right? You can go from these brutal, gory moments to, look at
Mhm.
that. And that's just the duality of the boys. That's what makes this show so good is they're all over the place. You're laughing one minute, you're throwing up the next minute because you never want to sit in a sauna again. And the minute after that, you're looking at lobotomies and then you're having heartfelt conversations with your dying dad. It's just that's what this show is about.
But what's fantastic too about it is, yes, these things I think are thrown in there for a level of shock, but they're always relevant to the story as well. So it's
Right.
like
They
if
don't just
he
do it just to be
hadn't
like, haha.
right, if Huey's dad hadn't gone around and like ran through people in wasn't clearly messed up, then he would not have been as quick to be like, I have to essentially put my dad down. He doesn't want to be Jar Jar. Nobody wants to be
No,
Jar
yeah,
Jar.
right. It's
Oh,
so
that
it,
was
it
funny.
does. It definitely sucks. Uh, but that's just, man, the show. I will say that, yeah, it was a good episode. Like, it's not that it wasn't I think coming off of like the Acolyte, where there was just so much action unexpectedly, to the boys, where there was a little less action, but it still like moved plot devices forward and everything forward. Now, like I said, the seven are taking their gloves off and they're about to start just killing people at will, essentially, is what they're getting to. And there's more going on as we get ready to wrap up these shows. It was just not like a whiplash, but it was just, one of those things. And now we have House of Dragon is out there. That's been on Sundays. The Bear just dropped last night. I wish The Bear was a weekly release, because I think it's a mistake dropping all 10 of their episodes on one night. As you see
Hulu
with
usually did once a week.
no, The Bear, the last two, they started actually doing weekly, but with the last two seasons, The Bears dropped all 10 episodes on one day. And I think that's a dying model. Thankfully, streaming has killed, because then you feel compelled to binge and then you forget about it right away. And then you're waiting year or two for these seasons
Then you can
versus,
rewatch it all again.
I know, but like, look what's happened to House of Dragon, The Boys, and The Acolyte, right? Like, how much throughout the week are we talking about
Oh,
these three
yeah.
shows across social media?
I
Whereas The
still forgot
Bear,
all of House of the Dragon.
right? Well, The Bear, people are going to talk about it, but they dropped every episode, so people are going to watch these 10 hours of television probably by the end of the weekend, and then they're going to not talk about it really anymore. So I feel like they're hurting
Yeah.
themselves.
And from a monetary standpoint, like, I would, and I think a lot of people still do this, where they wait for it so they can binge it and only pay for 1 month.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is like, but you can watch it on Disney Plus, so you don't even need Hulu. Like, The Bear's on Disney Plus, but
It is?
yeah, like that, it is. Hulu and Disney Plus, and they have a lot of stuff on there. So The Bear's on Disney Plus. I recommend you watch it. It is a great show. I've watched the first episode. I'm not going to spoil it, but it was powerful. It was a very powerful episode. I'm probably going to hop on Monday night with Tom on Nerd Initiative to talk about the first episode or so. Carrie's out of town, so I won't watch it again until probably Saturday or Sunday. But speaking of Saturday, I think we're still doing a Patreon movie night. We've been talking about doing that. And we're going to be doing the Fantastic Four, very first Fantastic Four movie with Chris Evans and Jessica Alba. So we're going to hang out with our Patrons and we're going to watch this movie. You don't have to drink a beer. We'll drink a beer, but you can just come hang out. We'll just talk. We'll
Grand
watch the
Admiral
movie
Hawk
together.
2.
Oh my God. I
Oh my
was I was like, for the Empire. That might be the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I think this might be the best thing
Is
ever.
that
Thank
Norm
you so much for
Macdonald
that.
in the
That is
picture?
That's Norm Macdonald. Yeah, from the Jeopardy episode of Saturday
Oh,
Night Live.
yeah. Was he
Turd
Burt
Ferguson.
Reynolds or
Yeah,
something?
dude, he's Burt Reynolds and there's Turd Ferguson. Yeah, dude, that was such a class. Oh my, that might be the right there. That might be the best. With that said, though, man, God, make sure help us out as always. Like, subscribe, share, follow us. We are dropping an episode on Monday about Twister, because Twisters is getting ready to come out with Glenn Powell. We are going to be dropping a Supernatural season 9 bonus episode. We have a couple creator interviews coming up. We just talked to Kevin Zoland about Kitty's Bordello, which is a comic book. It's going to be 5 issues. We
Based
talked
on
about
real
issue 1.
events
It's
during
based
World
on
War
real
II.
events during World War II, where
Very
they
interesting.
tapped their, it's a kitty salon, so a brothel. They tapped it to spy on their citizens. And after that, we just talked to Matthew Ehrman about Loving Ohio from Dark Horse Comics. He's done a lot of really good stuff for IDW, Mad Cave, Scout. We have that coming out. Trevor, also from Pocket Watch Press, we talked about his comic book Rise, which is on Kickstarter right now. So we have a lot of really good creator episodes mixed in with, we just did an episode that dropped Monday about The Lion King, 30th anniversary.
The best movie ever.
Exactly. If you guys can just help us out, man, like, subscribe, share. You can find weekly comic book reviews on Wednesdays now at 9 a.m. Eastern, nerdinitiative.com. I will be live Tuesday nights talking Turn a Page with Ken and Tom from Nerd Initiative, where we dive into a comic book. We'll be doing that. And then Lauren and I, obviously, every week. And then, dude, Everyone's been asking about the hoodie, not here tonight, but anytime I post like a TikTok, Roosevelt's baby, rsvlts.com. Tell them we sent you. We're not sponsored. That would be great because I literally dropped like $800 worth of Roosevelt's to go on our cruise in 2 weeks. So please help your boy out. My kids can't eat. They're eating ramen noodles. They can't feed themselves. I am neglecting. I'm just kidding. But seriously, man, they're my favorite brand. Performance hoodies are awesome. And this is the Ahsoka one that I just absolutely love. So I had to wear it to talk Star Wars tonight, right? Thanks everybody for hanging out with us. We did talk about the Acolyte. We talked about the boys. So if you missed any part of this, I will be dropping it probably tomorrow up on our feeds. And with that said, Lauren, do you have any final thoughts before we depart?
Justice for Soldier Boy.
I feel like Soldier Boy's coming back for the final season. Derek Robertson actually posted a picture of him with Jensen Ackles, and I was like, dude, I'm so jealous. He's like, you're jealous. I had to stand next to that man. And I was like, yeah, dude, you got to like smell him.
Met somebody.
And he was like, he's every bit of nice. And I was like, I bet he is. Can I meet him? Can you introduce us? Please, I need to smell his musk. But yeah, you know, not to get weird, but to get weird, Jensen Ackles.
It already got weird.
Anyways, keep your lightsabers close, but keep your V even closer.
Yeah. Okay.
That sounded kind of weird. Lightsabers and V could be a very big metaphor, kids. I don't know where I was going with that. I thought I had something to tie the boys and the Acolyte together. Instead,
Jar
I just
Jar
made
ties
an
them together.
sex joke.
It was Jar Jar. Jar Jar brought it together.
With that said, thanks for hanging out, everyone in the chat. We'll see you guys next week. We might have one 4th of July Cantina Hour in us next week. Stay tuned. The only way to know is to subscribe. Peace out.